You are now a loyal follower of the Villain District Podcast.
That is good news.
Tip of the tongue, teeth of the lips.
Tip of the tongue, teeth of the
How many
lips.
podcasts have you been on thus far?
Absolutely zero.
Absolute zero, as in like a temperature?
As in as cold as it can
It's
possibly
freezing.
be. Like theoretical heat death of the universe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that?
Well, it's the
No, it would be an expansion.
cold isn't
Never
a
mind.
phenomenon in itself. It's the description of the absence of heat.
Wait, what? So it's like evil's just the absence of good. Is that the same thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's
All right.
just because things are opposites does not mean that they are descriptions of the absence of the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
You doofus?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like there's no thing called dark. That's just the absence of light. And
What? What do you mean? But what about when it's dark in my room?
Well, then I mean, maybe you should take some of the dark out of your room. That's
That
all
is
I'm
true.
saying.
That is true. I was thinking about doing that.
Removing the dark.
Remove the source of the dark.
Turn off the dark.
Turn off the dark.
Turn
Yeah.
out the dark.
Is that a thing?
I think turn down for
Yeah.
for what?
For
Have you
who?
seen the video for turn down for what?
Yes, I have.
I was
wait.
going to say we would have to stop the... Yeah, I am getting a little distortion.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Little fuzz.
I'm sorry, everyone.
Sorry
I don't
about
know.
Sorry about his voice.
It might be the absolute...
Yeah. Turn down for yeah.
Wait. So what about the video for turn down for what?
Have you seen it?
I don't know.
Crazy
Wait.
dancing penis and boobs.
No.
You,
I don't
you
think
haven't
so.
seen that? Wow.
Who
Before-
even does that? I've heard it. I know what it is. But
That DJ and Little John. I mean. yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, after this...
Yeah.
After this, we'll watch
I have
it.
to see it.
It's honestly... it's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Sounds
super
pretty good. Sounds really good.
Plus, I mean, turn down for what? Soundtrack of our lives, right, guys?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. It's like White Album.
I've been saying
level.
that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So we got Chris Moore with us, and that's awesome.
I like it.
So yeah, I was thinking about oh, Chris, we've known Chris, me and Joe have known Chris a long time, going back to middle school at least, right?
Yeah.
Joe and I.
Me and Joe. I'm not at school or
Oh, you're in the
or
school
work.
of hard knocks here.
That's right, that's true. Okay.
You're in Butchertown, son.
Joe and I.
But I still like to use the rule that if you take out the other person, that
Right.
that then you to check if it's correct. So
That's
then it
what
would
I
be,
do too. But
That's
I don't,
all I- that's-
yeah.
Me have known Chris since middle school.
which is probably
That is maybe
proper
what I would
today
say.
on the internet.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Language is just its use, Chris. So
And
if
then
that
you would
communicates,
have to draw
then-
a really big-eyed emoji thing.
right.
The real,
Oh,
Well,
I don't make a face
it's
on a
more-
podcast.
I think it's supposed to be more of a cutesy thing and not like
Not
a
like,
wild
oh, no.
man.
Yeah. All right. Well, Joe and me.
Yeah.
There
Right.
it is. There it is.
Sure.
I found it.
You got it.
Me and Joe have known Chris. Me have known Chris since middle school. So I was thinking, like, what are we going to talk about? Right? Like, it's you're not pushing an album that I know of.
Yeah. No.
Right.
No album.
No album. Your feature length film is not coming out
No,
really soon.
No. Caught up in edits.
No
It's-
feet.
You guys
Yeah.
know this, yeah.
And then I realized, I'm just going to say it, Chris knows everything. Chris knows everything.
So wait,
Right?
the theme of this episode is going to be the sheer amount of useless knowledge that I have.
No, well, you insert the word useless in there. I'm
Hey,
not.
is that stitching on your
I'm
boots
not-
real?
I'm not-
Is that
Yeah.
is that Goodyear?
We do need to recount that really quick because that was worth
Yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
first of all, before Chris got here, some may refer to him as Roland, right?
At times.
Chris
Right.
or Roland, depending
Yeah.
on your whereabouts.
Yeah.
But so Will and I were talking, and we were like, okay, Chris just knows things,
Right.
Like just things he knows. If I have a question about anything,
Really.
it's not a shot in the dark to ask
No,
Chris.
it's really
like,
not.
There's a good chance he'll know something.
Yeah. At
About-
least more than the average person on the street.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
So-
that's a jack of all trades, master of none. You know, it's like I know surface level stuff about a lot of
I
things.
don't know that it's surface level, though.
No,
but
it's
we'll-
not
we'll-
surface.
We'll get to that.
There's nothing
I don't-
surface about...
Right.
Okay. So we're outside, and we're picking Chris up off the street.
Like
He's
you
a
do.
streetwalker.
Yeah.
To get coffee. And Chris says, "Oh, Will, I really dig those boots." And then he starts asking questions about the boots. Okay.
Yeah.
He starts asking about the stitching patterns.
That's right.
What it's made of.
Wait, so what exactly did you said it, you like those boots. I said, they're falling apart. I paid $60 for them, which to me sounds crazy, but it's really not that much for boots, turns out.
I asked specifically if the welt on it was a real Goodyear welt.
And I thought you meant that I'd hurt my leg when I was biking over here.
No.
And I thought when you said Goodyear, I thought you meant that you thought the shoes were made from recycled tires.
Right.
And whether or not you could still see the Goodyear logo on the heel.
Wait, so what does that mean then?
The welt is actually the leather upper.
Yeah.
There's an additional piece of material that is attached to the upper.
Okay.
And the stitching that you see around the outside.
Right, yeah.
That would be the welt, not the stitching itself, but that piece of material.
Oh, okay.
And then that is what is used to attach it to the rest of the sole.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and Goodyear welts, which is that style. I don't know if that specifically is actually 100% a Goodyear welt, but it's that style of welt. They were first used because it was a good way to waterproof shoes. They were used really heavily in work shoes.
Huh. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what Chris asks.
Then
When we're...
Then I was like, I don't know if you noticed my boots, Chris, but these are Timberland boots.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling him how cheap I got them because of the sale that was running.
Yeah.
And then he goes into the history of Timberland boots.
Not history. I mean,
might as well have been history.
Just saying that to get those boots resold, you have to jump through a few extra hoops, and also that I like Timberland for a moderately priced boot.
Right.
Right. It was not just that.
So at this point, listeners are thinking, this guy spends some time learning about boots, right? They think you're a boot master, which you kind of are.
But here's the reality.
But here's
of
the
it.
thing. Yeah.
The reality is, one day you probably thought, I want a good pair of boots.
Yes.
So you took to the internet.
Right.
Indeed.
And now you have all this knowledge forever about boots.
That's the amazing thing.
And I've been thinking about like knowledge retention, and there's a lot of like the whole if you don't use it you lose it sort of thing is actually like pretty true. I mean, if you think about subjects that you studied like back at the beginning of college and things like that, you probably don't remember a lot of the specifics about those things.
Right.
Nope.
But if the things like boots, there are enough people that wear boots, and you run into enough people who are interested in boots and things like that you can have a conversation about it like every couple of weeks or every month or so or something like that. And if you have the knowledge and you use it, it just sort of sticks around, I guess.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, but I did one day want a really good pair of boots. And I wear size 14 or 15, and it's really, really hard to find not custom-made boots. And so I just did probably 2-3 weeks worth of research.
Yeah.
Multiple hours a day.
Right.
Multiple hours a day doing
2 or 3
research on
weeks
boots.
of research on finding the right pair of boots.
You know what I did? I walked into a store and I bought a crappy pair of boots. Just because I was like, those look good.
That's not even really an option for me. I mean, I can't even find crappy
Fair
boots.
enough. Yeah, right. Fair enough. So I still want to push. Let's jump boot ship.
Sure.
And because I feel like people who may not know you, people who know you will be like, oh no, he just knows about boots and about everything. But people who don't know you might be like, well, he just knows about boots. But let's mix it up. Right? Right?
Let's just say
Yeah.
he doesn't just dance the boot scootin' boogie.
Oh.
Okay.
I mean, but if we're talking about dancing, that really is the only dance that I do, though.
Do you know something about dancing?
No, I
Okay.
very, very, very little.
Fair enough. Wait, what's very, very, very little?
I mean,
I'm just curious.
I may have watched a couple dance competitions or two, but I never got into like terminology.
Yeah, sure.
Because there's like viral videos on where people are like, oh man, this guy dances real good, and then you watch the video and you're like, man, that guy dances real good. And then there are links in the sidebar, and you click on the links in the sidebar. That's
Right.
that's it. That's
Right. Gotcha.
So I know some good looking dancing.
It's always super impressive, but also super fun. Like, because I like do academic stuff, and so I do like religious studies and philosophy and all that stuff, and stuff that nobody would read, right?
Sure.
Stuff that nobody would read, and all the way through my process of getting my education and going into these more specialized classes where there's no need to read any of this stuff. You can live a full and happy life and never come into contact with it. But you were always jumping on board. Well, it was always like it's always like, hey man, let's talk about the metaphysics of what
because you wouldn't just make like these esoteric references to the stuff that you would actually talk about the concepts, and it's and then I would get interested, and maybe I would go home and do some research on the internet. But it's like I've and especially in the beginning, I think my knowledge about religion and philosophy may have grown as a result of talking to you throughout your education. Sure.
But I don't know. It's interesting because it's all. I'm always like, God, Chris could just do this. I'm glad you're not in my classes, so I wouldn't have to
Well, but the thing is like I would disrupt the class by stopping on a really interesting topic, and then I'd be like, oh man, but this thing, can we really dig into this thing that it's probably only going to be one question on a test someday,
right?
But I really need you to tell me every single thing about this thing,
right?
And then I wouldn't do the homework, and I failed the class.
That's true. That's probably true.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But I wasn't trying to take us into that territory in terms of what we're talking about, but just as an example of how I know that you know everything.
But then, I'm into film production, audio production, all of these kinds of things, and we'll be sitting out at a coffee shop or a bar or something, and you two will be. Whenever you guys get a breather, I'll say, "Hey, Chris, do you know about this lens, or have you heard about this?" Whatever,
right?
And then he just pops over to that.
Yeah, it's very true.
It just starts. Well, actually, I've read X amount of reviews about this model number of something. I don't even I work in audio or video every day.
Yeah,
I don't know model numbers for anything.
Well, it's just that I don't know, and that's not true. I mean, you probably know the model number of the mic that you're speaking into and whatever.
Yeah. I guess I do.
Got you.
But
it's just that, what's the model number?
I don't know. Is that an SM7B?
It's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. Well, a lot of times people just leave off the B, but not Chris.
Right.
I couldn't tell you what the B stands for. It's just I know that the
microphone.
I don't know what it stands for either, dude. B.
It just looks. But in all fairness, the SM7B is one of the most popular dynamic mics in the market.
That's true.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know that at all.
Yeah. Michael Jackson recorded Thriller on this bad boy.
Really? Ooh. On that one?
This one.
Yeah.
That exactly.
Still smells. Smells like Michael.
Oh, well, that's okay. Yeah.
I have a feeling he probably smelled pretty good.
Yeah. I would say.
I'd say that anybody who has other people in charge of their day to day is probably has to smell pretty good.
That's true.
Probably.
And you choose to spend your time at and live at a theme park.
Oh yeah.
You probably smell good.
Well,
right?
I mean, if you're staying,
it's your theme park. You're not sleeping outside a theme park. I'm not saying that. You're not on the bench.
So, does anybody else imagine that Michael Jackson, to get the full theme park experience, would go out and have cardboard cutouts of people standing in line in front of him?
He has to wait behind them,
and then he would bring his butler or maid out there, and then gripe about how long the wait is.
That's awesome.
That would have that's my perfect mental image of Michael Jackson right there.
Yeah, hold on to that.
Oh, that's very, very funny. That's very good. Just to be able to complain about fictional people. Yeah. To be able to enact the entitlement.
Yeah.
Just to be able to do it.
But then you could specifically design the type of people that regularly make you angry or irritate you, and then you could put them all in line in front of you, and then you'd be like, man, these guys.
Right.
Oh, and then you could have a staff person dressed as somebody from the theme park be like, oh no, you can move to the front of the line, Mr. Jackson.
Right. But he would be a real person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And he would have to pretend to recognize him.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Who would have thought?
My lucky day.
Oh.
Working at the theme park in your backyard.
So do you listen to any podcasts?
I do, mostly the NPR stuff. I actually just marathoned on Sunday. I listened to all of Serial.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. Then,
wow.
12 episodes. It's a really engrossing story, and then it's at the end you're like, oh.
Yeah.
I am about halfway through it. I don't know if I'll finish it.
Then the end is like, yeah.
That was totally satisfying.
Yeah. 100% of my questions were answered.
All right.
I was really, really on top of the cereal game for a little while, and then like one day I just switched over to, I think maybe Fat Man on Batman had something.
Right.
Then there was something on the Nerdist, and there was something on this or that, and then I just haven't gone back.
Well, the Nerdist, it's like I couldn't ever. I love the Nerdist podcast, but I couldn't ever be like a regular listener. Like, I wouldn't. I don't have enough interest in all the tons and tons and tons of random people that he has on there.
Yeah. I don't either. I definitely just.
I look for names I recognize.
I look at the names
myself.
and just delete all the other ones.
But Chris Hardwick is he's an awesome interviewer. I mean, I really love the laid back style that he has, and I really enjoy hearing him talk to the people whose careers I care about.
Right.
Let me tell you something he does.
What's that?
He'll go, I don't think. And as soon as you hear him do it that one time, you'll hear him do it the whole episode. It's so
over.
interesting that.
Did you just ruin the Nerdist podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, no. I noticed that probably a couple months ago.
Oh, okay.
And it ruined it just for the day.
Okay,
Okay,
sweet.
so that's good. So one day is gone.
Right.
It's going to burn a day.
So I need to wait until tomorrow.
Right.
And go back.
You'll
to
be fine.
It's pretty interesting how we'll get so used to, like, for example, he doesn't stutter, but that's his way of inching into the conversation.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because usually on that, you got Jonah Ray and all those guys, and they're all, depending on how comfortable they are with who they're with.
Right.
If they're all kind of starstruck, it's just Hardwick like struggling to like make the interview good, and everyone else is just like quiet mouse. But if they're all like friends, then it's usually a battle for the microphone. Have you ever noticed that?
There are sometimes, I don't know, there are sometimes whenever it's like, especially back in the day whenever you had Matt and Jonah and Chris on all at the same time more. Sometimes they would get like super deep into their like, because they riff off of each other all the time. They would get super deep into riffing, and then like the person they're interviewing is just like silent.
Oh yeah. Those things are very annoying. I was listening to a podcast pretty recently, and I won't say what it was because I like the podcast, and I don't know why I won't say, but because I can't remember. But it was whoever was doing it. It's somebody that did a new podcast, and it was like the person whose podcast it was just kept talking about themselves. Right.
So it was probably a Kevin Smith podcast.
It wasn't. Although that's true as well.
I love listening to Kevin Smith.
Right.
But sometimes
it's okay.
I've really
he gets really high though.
Whenever whenever he was originally doing like speaking engagements, and he came out with the original Evening with Kevin Smith and stuff like that. I really enjoyed those.
Yeah, super good.
But I haven't actually listened to any Kevin Smith podcasts.
Okay.
They're
no
good.
Fat Man on Batman. No
they're
Jan
fun.
Silent
I was going to
Bob
say, I think the best thing for you to do then is to really dig into the back catalogs of Fat Man on Batman.
Right.
There are some it's like Jim Lee's been on there a couple times.
oh wow.
So many
Joe Quesada
people.
was just on there now.
I just
Mark Hamill.
I've been listening to that
for his Joker work and stuff. It's very good.
Like,
did they not talk about Star Wars at all? This
I'm
is
sure,
for the Joker
I'm sure
only.
they did. Yeah, exactly. No,
I mean, Fat Man, like Joe Quesada, Fat Man on Batman's more just a comic show.
Sure. It's become that
because they just talked about the new Daredevil series.
Yeah.
Right.
But he usually does a little like Batman like segue thing.
Yeah.
Like into
he figures out.
Frank Miller wrote the best Bat story there ever was, and you know what he was doing before that? He was writing Daredevil, man.
That's pretty good.
Thanks.
That's a pretty good Kevin Smith. It's funny how there's like, you were talking about the Evening with Kevin Smith things. It's funny how there's like a line. And usually he's on the good side of it, but like there's a line with anybody who's really a good conversationalist and very outgoing and has something to say, where it's like you have to be very self-aware with that, because sometimes you're talking and you're just the only one who wants to hear whatever it is.
Well, even in the, I think it was the second Evening with Kevin Smith, like the first 45 minutes I was fully engaged.
Right.
And then at some point it became more rambling. And,
sure.
And he sort of lost me.
Those things were like 2 hours, and he would answer like a question, or two questions. It was set up like a Q&A, but he would take a question, and then an hour and a half later, it's like, okay, good night, everybody.
It's funny being a child of the internet as I am. It's like I'll watch. If I find out that somebody I'm interested in is doing a panel at something that I can't go to or whatever, I'll wait till after the event, then I'll try to find footage that people have uploaded and things like that.
For sure.
Some of my favorite panels that I've ever watched have been people who do like 15 minutes of talking themselves, and then they open it up for questions. Especially if it's somebody who doesn't normally take a lot of questions.
Yeah, I just went to C2E2, and I would say over half of the panels that I saw were like that format. It's more a Q&A with these people.
Right.
So C2E2 is a conference or convention in Chicago, and I'm aware of that. What does the acronym actually stand for?
It's 2 C's, 2 E's. So Chicago Comic
and Entertainment
Expo.
Oh wow! Yeah. Was that real fun?
Yeah, it was fun. So far, let's see, I've been to San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, and C2E2, as well as some like local stuff.
Actually,
San Diego's just it's the most fun. It's the
giganticest.
Right.
Yeah.
The last when I went was the time when they announced Batman versus Superman.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So it was really cool. Really cool.
Nice. Were they passing out like promo swag all over the place?
You got a shirt, right?
Yeah. No, they there's a lot of stuff floating around.
It's funny, I've never been to a con of any kind or an expo.
You should go with us to Derby City.
To Derby City
next month.
Okay, it's next month. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
Right?
Then definitely. Is it just on a weekend sometime?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thursday through Saturday or something like that. I don't know.
It may
I
just
haven't
be
checked.
a couple days.
I want to say it's like the 21st or 26th. I don't know. One of those.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
That might actually happen. My buddy David, a couple years ago, tried to get me to go to Chicago Comic-Con, but I can't remember why I couldn't go. There was something else that was in the way. But I really wish I'd gone to that.
Did you see the footage of James at C2E2 last year?
Oh, that was a C2E2? No,
I think
yes,
so.
I did.
Wasn't that
I think
C2E2?
so. I think it was C2E2.
He was with
Briscoe County Jr.
For those who don't know who we're talking about Jimmy Otis, James Bell,
who was on the cast.
Who was on the cast.
A couple months ago.
Go back and listen to his episode.
But he actually got on stage with Bruce Campbell and Ted Raimi.
Yes.
And lightsaber dueled.
Yeah, but he was up there for a huge chunk of the panel, right?
Yeah, he spent a good amount of time up there. It was like what they ended up blindfolding him and having him fight Ted Raimi with a lightsaber or something.
Because they only had one lightsaber or something.
Something, yeah.
But it was it was supposed to be a duel, but they could only get one lightsaber. Something along that line.
Was James dressed as Briscoe County Jr.?
Yes, he was.
I feel like he was.
They actually referred to him as Briscoe the entire
That's
time.
That's amazing. Oh,
pretty good.
Yeah. Super jealous. That was very cool. So you said you're listening to some NPR podcasts.
Yeah.
What are you? So you got Serial. What else? What else are you into recently?
This American Life, Radio Lab.
I dig This American Life quite a bit.
And I used to listen to a lot of the Moth podcast. I just haven't. There's no reason that I stopped. I just haven't really gotten back around to it.
Yeah.
But mostly NPR podcasts and then the Nerdist and actually I think that's it.
You ever tried out You Made It Weird, Pete Holmes podcast?
No, I haven't.
I think you'd get into that.
Yeah, I think you'd like it. It's pretty good
stuff.
Oh, and also because I am a terrible, terrible internet person, I do occasionally listen to Not Too Deep with Grace Helbig whenever
I don't know that
thing.
What is that?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I just know.
Do you know it?
I just know her because she was on the Nerdist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, she's internet celebrity.
Right.
Okay.
She's a big YouTube fame, right?
Yeah, she's one of the better known YouTubers, and she actually just recently made a jump to traditional media with.
Oh, nice.
She took the Friday slot. Whenever Chelsea Handler went away, he made a bunch of fill-in content. And she didn't take the Chelsea Handler spot because Chelsea Handler's show was a daily show, but she has a half-hour slot on Fridays at like 10:30, something
That's
like that.
That's crazy.
But what's awesome is that her show is essentially just like extended format of what her web show was. Like
Gotcha.
It's a half an hour long. She always has a celebrity guest. She always has other internet celebrities on, and they just do random stuff and ridiculous challenges.
She's going to be like the female Chris Hardwick.
Yeah. Well, and her and Chris Hardwick know each other from Attack of the Show, and because she used to do like field work for Attack of the Show.
I was going to say, if keep your eyes open anytime you're on YouTube because they're promoting her page still.
Yeah. Tons. Well, they just launched that. They're pushing a lot of the bigger people, like Hannah Hart from My Drunk Kitchen. Her face is on the side of a building in New York.
Yeah,
and Grace has one of those big like subway extended subway ads.
I was going to say Grace on the Nerdist talked about the other girl, the Drunk Kitchen.
Oh, Hannah Hart, yeah.
Yeah, they're good buddies.
Yeah.
That's cool. I know you were for a time, or maybe still are, I'm not sure, into like YouTube series and or what would you call those? I don't even know.
Just channels. I mean,
channels. Right. I'm not into it that much.
It's funny, but I sort of use like YouTube and digital media in place of the way that other people use television shows. Like at the end of the day, whenever you go to work, and I just want to sit down and veg, I'll get on YouTube and I'll like watch.
Well, there's so much just solid content that people are making. Like I know I don't really watch it, but like stuff like Video Game High School.
Sure, the guys from Rocket Jump, they actually just launched what they're calling Rocket Jump Film School, where they do they're doing videos going in depth on production topics.
Oh, cool!
And the main channel has turned into doing these really awesome like 10-15 minute like shorts where
Dude, I'd like to see those guys tackle like an action comedy like feature.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Wait, is that the Video Game High School people you're talking about?
Yeah.
So Video Game High School is on Netflix now.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
dude,
cool.
when I went
was it on a channel or did they just pick it up for Netflix? Do you know what I'm saying?
It was
like was it on broadcast somewhere or something or
no? I don't think
just
so.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
They call them I think like on YouTube the episodes are shorter. So I think on Netflix what they've done is
well, the first season of Video Game High School, all of the episodes were 10 to 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
The second season, I think they expanded the time for each episode and cut the number of episodes. And then for the third season, they only did half-hour episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because when I was at San Diego Comic-Con, or maybe it was New York Comic-Con, one of those.
Yeah.
The big banners they had hanging from like the ceiling of the convention center was Video Game High School
That's
promo.
so cool.
Yeah. Nice.
That's awesome.
So
like when you're vegging out and you're watching YouTube channels or whatever, are you usually watching stuff like Video Game High School, like sort of entertainment-y stuff, or are you watching? Because I remember the reason I ask is because you introduced me to Vsauce. Which I love now, which is so good. It doesn't come out as often as I wish it did, but I understand it takes a lot of work and research.
Well, then there's Vsauce 2 and 3,
right?
Those are a lot less fulfilling to watch.
Those are a little different.
Well, I actually I like a lot of the educational content. Whenever Crash Course is covering a topic that I like, I'll watch a lot of Crash Course.
Yeah, Crash Course is cool.
And I like Vsauce, and I like a channel that you turned me on to. Actually, all of the PBS Digital stuff is great.
Oh,
now.
really?
Mike Rugnetta doing
Idea Channel.
Idea Channel.
The one you're talking about.
There's also, I don't know how into video games you guys are these days, but there's PBS Digital Studios also has the Video Game Show.
Oh, right.
Which is like an Idea Channel inspired. It's like a spin-off of the Idea Channel. Yeah. And he talks about ideas in video games and how they affect culture. And it's not Mike Rugnetta, it's another guy whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, I know what he looks like, and I can't think. I haven't watched enough of that, but
But man, PBS knocking it out of the park consistently.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if you're watching more, and if that, will that because I know you have this drive. We were kind of kidding around about you knowing everything, but you really do know about a lot of stuff. And does that like satisfy your like if Crash Course did an episode on something and you're interested in that, does that satisfy it for you and you're like, oh, I kind of understand that now, or will that like drive you into a research hole?
It depends.
Do you know what I mean?
It's really it's whatever strikes me at the time, but it's like during the original Crash Course World History they made a lot of references, like the Mongols were a running joke because they're one of the most successful conquering people, and like all of the rules, like never fight a war on two fronts, and all these other like classic rules of like how you become an empire. They violated like all of them, so they're like the exception to all the rules.
Sure.
And so anytime they would come up against one of these things and be like, and this is something you never want to do unless you're of course the Mongols.
Yeah. Right.
So I would like go into researching the Mongols a little bit, and so it depends on specifically how deeply that particular thing strikes me.
Right.
But if there's something that really piques my interest, then I'll definitely get off of Crash Course and get onto like Wikipedia or like history forums, or there's just the internet is so saturated with people who know so much in depth about
such
so
specialized knowledge.
Absolutely. And places like Wikipedia and Reddit are really letting those things condense. So if you like, I would advise anybody, if there's anything that you have like a specific desire to know about, get on Reddit, get on Wikipedia, like actually engage with these communities. And there are just so many people who know so much stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Dude, especially Reddit. You drop one question. I was getting into more synth-based composing, because normally it's just really organic sounding stuff or orchestral kind of plugins or something. I've never really, I've kind of toyed with synths, but I didn't know what people used. So I went to, I think it was like We Are Music Makers subreddit or something like that. And I was like, getting into this, I just recently heard this really synthetic sounding score. I really dig it. And then it's just like comment after comment. Try this. These are the synths Zimmer uses. Actually, one of the track that I referenced that I really like was by this guy named Rich Freeland. And I think we were talking about this the other night.
I feel like you've.
But he scored the movie It Follows.
Oh yeah.
And I just love the sound of. It's kind of like it's like a modern take on like a Carpenter kind of synthy score.
I've got to see
that. And this
that.
guy's like, oh yeah, well he just did a web seminar on how he gets his sound, and they posted a link. So like, I was.
You see,
I know a lot more about synths now, just because of these, that one question and people really helping out.
Music hasn't really been a focus for me for a very long time, but it's like anytime I toy around with the idea of getting back into making music, it's always digital. It's like I bought a copy of Logic because I really wanted that interface, and I really like the way that they implement plugins and things along that line.
Yeah, we use Logic here at the studio.
I can see it running right now.
Right. Yeah.
We've got we do have Pro Tools as well, but like Logic is just Apple's making their stuff so much more affordable than everybody else.
Oh yeah,
it's so hard to like spend 2 or 3 times as much on something when the quality of the product is as good.
Yeah. I mean, and
sometimes better.
I feel like that. I don't know, but Logic is like an extremely powerful piece of equipment, and I feel like that part of the drive for the low price points. I mean, because that is probably the number one competitor to Pro Tools, which is like
absolutely
4 or 5 times its cost.
It's like there's Pro Tools and Logic and Cubase. A lot of people are big Cubase users. I'm not a big fan. I feel like Logic and Pro Tools give you the tools to like really customize your session a little bit more.
Yeah,
Pro Tools is the king of customization, but I've been on Logic for 2 years now, and now.
Sure. Well, and the reason that I chose Logic, whenever I wanted to download a digital audio workstation sort of solution, was that it's a lot more intuitive looking than Pro Tools is.
Right, and that's the thing that took me a while to get used to. It is a little bit more intuitive. It's a little bit more user friendly, which can be helpful.
I was going to say that can be a double-edged sword sometimes.
It is, because I learned on Pro Tools.
Right.
And Pro Tools, it's like, figure it out, son.
Yep.
You'll be fine. And I figured it out.
Right.
Then going back into Logic was a little different. Like Pro Tools, the actual editing interface, like it's so cut and dry. Like, oh well, you highlight this and you click this, and then it's just very bare bones feeling.
Yeah,
well,
and I feel like Logic kind of tries to do stuff for you sometimes.
Right.
But once you're used to it, it's like.
And that can,
I mean,
I don't do these programs that you all are talking about, but that can, like, in some, even with like word processing and stuff, it limits your freedom, right?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, it's helpful if you want sort of shorthand, and it sort of the program goes, you're probably trying to do this.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like I'm not program.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
No Ultron.
But have you come across anything in Logic that you can't do that is less that is a hidden where it would be more obvious in Pro Tools?
Yes, and it's mainly the editing features. So like Pro Tools is set up to where if you have you have your editing tools up here on the top left. If you click to where all 3 of your main editing tools are always clicked down, your mouse is either a cursor if you hold it at the top, or it's a grab tool if you hold it at the bottom of the bar, and then or it's a fade tool if you hold it at the left or the right of the bar.
Wow.
And that's just makes so much sense to me. But with Logic, you have to dig in. There's like a marquee tool that does something. There's also a pointer tool. There's also a cut tool. There's also a fade tool. And in Logic, okay, so you can actually record on top of like several lines of audio on top of each other, and that's called what kind of mode is that? It's comp mode, to where you can actually open up these lines, highlight the takes you liked, and then it's just an automatic comp to the top, which is awesome. But as long as you're in comp mode, you can no longer like fade the bar. You can't, if you cut it in certain ways, sometimes it like you lose information. So you actually have to flatten that out. And that's Logic trying to do these things for my convenience, right?
Yeah.
So because I can comp all these things together, but I lose some flexibility. Whereas in Pro Tools, you can record on top of each other, but basically what Pro Tools does, it just keeps those audio files sitting underneath. And if you want the audio file, if you like this part of this take, well, you highlight that and drag it up. So now everything's still bare bones. There's nothing special about those those audio blocks now. But I've learned, it's taken me 2 years, but I've learned things that I guess regular consumers, they probably don't even think you're supposed, or they probably assume that a consumer is never going to get that deep into Logic. And another thing here at the studio we've kind of run into trouble with Logic is because Logic is a little bit more consumer based. A lot of the film and TV mixes we've worked on, like Pro Tools is set up for 5.1. It's set up to do all of these things that I guess people in film and TV always do. And in Logic, you have to log on to like lynda.com and say, okay, well, you have to dig here and click this one little button for that feature to even be available, because Apple's like, well, most people aren't going to be using Logic to mix a feature length movie in 5.1.
Yeah, I really hate feature hiding like that.
Yeah.
The concept of like something being available but not obvious is, or something being available but hidden is really mind-boggling to me. But it sounds like your workflow, especially like you said with the flexibility of using your single mouse pointer to do such a wide variety of things. It sounds like the workflow, if you actually know the Logic, if you actually know the Pro Tools system, is actually way better.
Yeah, the editing workflow, you can't beat Pro Tools.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, if I'm tracking a vocalist in Logic and they're having trouble and they're like, well, I'm just going to sing it like 5 times and hope that great stuff comes out. Ideally, as an audio engineer, you want your singer to be able to give you a full take, because that take, there's something organic about how you sang it together, consecutively that time. But some singers can't do that. Yeah. Some singers just have to say, well, pick and choose what was good.
Yeah.
So in Logic, what I can do is I can flip open the little, the waveform, and it gives me a drop-down menu, and it's as easy as just, okay, this little blob of audio, highlight that. Do I like that? No. Highlight that. Do I like that? Yes. Move on. And then I just do that throughout the take, and then you close it, and that's your new take. It's awesome, but if I wanted to fade that in and fade that out, if I wanted to clean up the audio, I would have to print it.
So do you or do you know if it's like an industry thing where people actually use both Logic and Pro Tools because they seem to have different strengths and weaknesses?
Sure.
Is there a workflow that involves both of them that you're aware of?
Not really. I mean, for me, I've had to use both in a few different instances. I mean, for example, this is going to be really boring to the listener base. Maybe we should talk about this later.
I would actually like to point this out. This is one of my favorite hobbies. Joe knows way more than I do about audio editing, but I have an interest in audio editing, and so talking to him about this is really I'm absorbing his knowledge.
Right.
Now later on, whenever somebody's like, "Oh, Logic or Pro Tools," I'm like, "Well, I'll be like, man, it really depends."
Here's the thing: is that you're listening to what I'm saying, and you're retaining it, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times, if I'm going off about audio stuff, someone's like, Okay, I'm sorry I asked.
Well, and also I'll retain a lot of this because probably whenever I get home, I'm probably going to do some more research.
But that's the good thing for me
Right.
is that if I give you some information that's a little maybe wishy-washy, not intentionally, but just something I don't know that much about.
Sure.
You're going to go home. You're going to do the research, which I haven't done. All my research is trial and error. I'm 2 years in, and
that is so extremely valuable, though. It's like, to me, it's like I can do tons and tons of research, but none of that is more confirming than somebody who actually does something.
Sure.
Actually talking about the way that they accomplish these tasks.
Right.
Especially because it's like I do eventually, whenever I have more free time, I would really like to play around with doing more digital audio things. And I'll probably call you at some point and be like, Joe, I really can't figure out how to do this. Bussing is completely beyond my scope right now.
Have you done, because you were talking about how you bought Logic, right?
Yeah. Because I got $100 gift card with my MacBook.
Oh, nice. Oh,
So
right.
half price.
Yeah. I think I bought a Me Without You record.
Oh, yeah, nice.
But
For $100?
that was a good one. But no, like, have you messed with any sort of digital music or anything?
I mean,
for
just
a while?
like as in like going out and finding free plugins, or like playing with all of the standard synth plugins in Logic for probably longer than I should.
But
have.
was it just kind of like a learning exercise, or or did you compose some music?
I would compose melodies, but I wouldn't ever actually write anything around them. I actually don't currently have any of the melodies that I've written because I don't have a Mac at the moment.
Right.
Sure. I was going to say I could probably hook you up with some plugins, but they're probably all Mac-based plugins.
Yeah. Well, and I am planning on getting into the Mac. I don't know. I for some reason tend to collect pieces of technology that just end up sitting around my house, and I don't know. I'm planning on liquidating some of my useless possessions and then reinvesting in a Mac. I really like, because I'm studying computer science and software development, I really like the idea of having a single computer that is triple booted with the whole.
What does that mean? Because you've explained it to me, but before you explained it, I had no idea what that meant.
Sure. Triple booted. Well, if you've messed around with computers, especially Macs, you've probably heard of people dual booting Windows and OS X. Triple booting would be Windows, OS X, and a Linux distribution.
Linux, yeah. So 3 operating systems on one machine, essentially.
You could literally, depending on the power of your machine, you could literally develop for any platform on a Mac.
Right.
It's a lot harder on a PC, not because of anything that PC does, but because the OS X works with such a limited scope of hardware, and Apple doesn't want you installing it on anything else.
Yeah, right.
And also the really cheap, super high quality software that Apple puts out. I feel like part of that is making people more. It's ingratiating them to the system. It's like making them more likely to stick with Apple.
Right. And I don't.
Yeah.
It may have just been like an early on decision to say. I mean, think about the iPhone. Like, they were the first really popular, like, smartphones screen.
Sure. They're probably
touchscreen.
Probably responsible for the popularity of even the word smartphone.
Right. But that's the thing is, they took this thing, but they didn't release it till they were like, this is boss.
Yeah.
This is a great great product, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And they've built their name on that. Like, I don't know, the first MacBook I ever owned, probably 2007 or 8. And it took me a while to get used to it, but like, I never had to worry about a virus or anything.
Sure.
And the one thing it took me a while to get used to was Apple is a little bit more consumer based in the sense that I feel like the way things are set up are a lot simpler, which I didn't like at first. I felt limited.
Right. It's funny because like OS X is a Unix derivative, and you came into Apple after they switched over to OS X. So you would probably be very at home in a Linux environment because Linux is also based on Unix. It's funny because Windows is really the only major system out there that's not based on Unix anymore. But like if you had to do anything in the terminal, and I'm sure that at some point you've had to open up the terminal, put in your password, and type in commands. That's Bash scripting, and that's the exact same thing the terminal runs off of on Linux. And and most Linux distributions have like an app store, and that's been part of Linux for forever. And you would probably just feel right at home in Linux.
Yeah. And now I remember being a kid and pointing and laughing and mocking Will for being the only Mac user in school.
Yeah. I mean, my dad worked at a newspaper that his grandfather started, and they used Macs in the early to mid 80s.
Yeah.
And then he started another newspaper when they sold that one, and so that was all Mac stuff. And so I was using
that means that they were really early adopters, because that was around the time that the first digital publication tools became available, and they were only available on Mac.
Right.
You had to be Mac.
Yeah, right. And so it was, man, I grew up, I mean, I've seen, home videos of me when I was 3 years old playing like matching games or whatever, concentration on
I was on DOS.
Mac 2 or whatever it was. Yeah, right.
It's interesting because you said, well, my dad used the Mac, so I used the Mac.
Yeah.
My dad's still a PC user.
Dude,
through and through.
It's weird, man. That stuff gets tribal. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it
deep. It's deep. My dad will still be like, he'll hear this too. He'll totally agree. He'll still be like, it's PC pieces of junk. Just they can't do anything, man. He's like, it's like they don't want you to figure it out or something.
Yeah,
man.
And I've shown my dad a few cool features on my Mac before, and he's like, wow, that's I mean, he uses an iPhone,
right.
iPhone, iPad, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a day where
one day, yeah.
But the thing is, Dad, when computers became a thing,
right?
My dad was getting into computers,
right? Yeah.
So he's been like building PCs, his PC isn't store bought. You know what I mean?
I wonder if that's okay. I wonder if that's a thing, because we're talking about these sort of. I mean, it's like Elvis, Beatles, kind of. You tend to be one or the other.
Right, Beatles.
Some people are both. Yeah, Beatles. Yeah,
Beatles,
but nevertheless, you tend to sort of be one or the other or whatever, and it gets sort of it's part of your identity.
Sure.
Right?
Although I will say,
and all that stuff.
I will say Beatles and Stones.
Okay,
I was going to say
you like Elvis too. I mean, it's not. It's not really.
Well, I was going to say I thought Beatles and the Stones was the normal.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean,
maybe
there's
so.
that split.
Yeah,
But
Beatles and Stones.
I'm a Beatles and Stones guy, and
Right.
I have been not yelled at, but I've been talked down to because I dared say that I like the Beatles and the Stones.
Yeah, right.
You can't do that.
No,
I'm just kidding. Here's
we're
the thing.
gonna bleep that.
The Stones are super cool and fun and more culturally, I don't know, cool to me.
Yeah.
But the Beatles to me are just the better thing.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's especially like,
quality product that is the Beatles.
Yeah, sure.
Well, for me, it's like in the 70s. Man, is this really the tangent we're going on?
Yeah, sure, man. Why not? I don't know.
In the 70s, like the whenever the Stones started really incorporating like a lot of like soul elements and that like R&B feel, and they just did a lot of really cool stuff. But it's like the Beatles went sort of like hard the other direction, and they went into like the experimental rock side.
Yeah.
And I feel that is also just super cool. I mean, both of them are definitely like trailblazers.
I agree.
Right.
I think they both heavily contributed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. I like. Yeah.
But the
They
Beatles
did.
more.
Yeah.
But anyway, you're saying like the tribal split.
Oh, yeah,
and I remember like us having back and forth.
Absolutely.
In
I
high
remember
school.
writing a paper in 6th grade that I had to write a defense piece for some opinion,
Because we were in a small town that just
6,000 people.
we use Winders here.
Right. Well, it was like I didn't have an opinion about anything.
Yeah.
So it was like 6th grade. So I wrote an opinion paper about how Macs were better, and I didn't know any of that.
Sure,
it was just
sure.
my family used them.
Yeah,
so that's why they're better, because I identify with them. But like you were saying, your dad could build computers and stuff like that. I imagine that people who are more into PC stuff are more into computers in general.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Almost
I mean, that's
customization.
right. Exactly. Because like I'm
into a machine that can handle what I throw at it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about making that
you're
myself.
using it as a tool for something else that has nothing to do with computers necessarily.
As somebody who's put together his last several computers,
Right.
and that whole,
Of course you have.
that whole thing, yeah. But I really like Macs for the software. The software they have is excellent, and it's just what irks me is that they have the whole Intel x86 architecture thing going on whenever they switched away from the PowerPC processors, but they don't. Like, there are some things that come with that they just decline to use, like any sort of expansion or upgrade or anything like that is just not an option. On
Right.
Macs.
Let me talk about that for a second.
Sure.
And from a business side, Apple, they're like the devil in the best way for themselves.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I bought I've got a Mac Tower from like 2009, early 2009, and it's a great machine. And I called Apple. I'm like, well, how do I upgrade the processor? And
Right.
they said, you don't. You buy a new computer.
Right.
Yeah.
But their brand loyalty is so strong
Yeah.
that they release a new computer, they know they're going to sell
Absolutely.
X amount.
Well,
and
it's
also-
the same thing with their chargers, their iPhone chargers.
Yeah.
All of those things. It doesn't matter because they can sell you anything they want.
Yeah.
Because it's, in my opinion, it's the best product.
Well, and here's the
They
deal.
can charge more too.
This is super interesting. So this is the only thing I can contribute to our technology conversation as a religious studies guy. There was a study from a few years ago where I forget if it was EEG or fMRI brain scans of some sort, either brain waves or actual blood flow. But they would look at individuals' brains who were Mac users when they were exposed to the Apple logo or Steve Jobs giving a speech or whatever. And the same areas of sort of communality and things like that, and devotion and sort of basically the religious, the same parts of the brains would light up for that as would for a Christian if they're looking at a cross or
Dude,
an
I
image
believe
of
it,
Jesus
man.
or whatever. Yeah,
There's something about that Apple logo that
Absolutely.
gets me going.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Well,
Dude,
and even I, as somebody who's not a dedicated Apple fan, it's
Right.
like they have this cool factor. Like, it's just all the
It's
stuff
like
they
a
put out is-
Mercedes. It's
the
Mercedes.
It's the aesthetics of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one thing. I mean, that's obviously where everybody knows this. Where Jobs was brilliant was that he was making computers for people who
Right. Well,
you
like
know.
he
for idiots like me who don't know
Apple-
anything about computers.
Apple doesn't
you
give
know.
you options because they don't have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Like their options are like, okay, well, we're releasing a new computer, a new Mac Tower
Right.
this year. You can either get the slower one or the faster one.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've actually heard about and I don't remember where I heard this podcast or I read it in an article or something, but that the internal workings of the company really reflect that. That like they were talking about how Google, if you work for Google, it's a campus, right? I mean, they have just crazy good food, and it's
Come
like
in when you want,
come in when you
cafeteria.
want, get your stuff done, whatever. But like, there's whatever. You don't ever
It's
have to
cool.
leave the campus. It's
You have-
super fun.
You have 10% time to work. Like, you can use 10% of your time to work on whatever you want to work on.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Just crazy, just very employee-oriented stuff. I have heard that Apple is the opposite of that.
I believe it.
The attitude at Apple is, you're so lucky that you're working here, right? Like, like this is the place to work, and you are damn lucky to be working here.
That's so
and
true,
like,
though.
Yeah, and so like when someone's getting fired or something, like they do a blackout on them. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Man.
all their stuff shuts down. They shut off their phone, whatever. At least until, and they shut off everything like around them until they're out. Like,
Well, that part, like,
and maybe that's more common than just Apple. I
But
don't
it's
know.
funny because that's really descriptive of like the main problem that I have with Apple.
Right.
Is they have this super. They have this. They have a wall between the consumer and the product. Like,
Right.
and there were actually
Right.
court cases that had to go on to say that. It wasn't illegal for you to modify your iPhone. Like in the beginning,
Really?
like part of your purchase agreement
Right.
was that you couldn't modify your iPhone at all. And then so for people, and that is something that was eventually hashed out in the courts. Like,
Right.
their end user license agreement, they can't stop you from installing software on your iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though they really, really tried to.
Yeah.
And I still don't know if they have any sort of capability to keep you from doing that. But it's that mentality that like everything you have comes through us, and everything that you have needs to come through us.
Right.
Which, I mean, and you can make an argument for that's how they've maintained an environment that's so sterile against things like viruses and things like that.
Right.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
I mean, that was one of
Yeah.
the biggest selling factors for me. As soon as I switched over to a MacBook, I was amazed that I didn't have to install McAfee or
Oh, right. Yeah.
Norton.
Yeah, my mom will ask me questions about that because she's using a PC at her work, and she'll be
haven't
like,
thought
"How
about
do
it.
I do the antivirus?" I'm like, "I really don't know. I'll look at it, see if I can figure it out."
You find something and
I don't
install
know.
it, and then you get super irritated by how incredibly invasive the experience of even having an antivirus on your computer is.
Fair
That is
enough.
what you do.
Fair enough.
You install this unfortunately necessary piece of bloated garbage on your computer. and then you silently sob to yourself every time that it pops up.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't dealt with that for several years.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it.
That's my favorite thing about Mac. It's like you don't. I mean, it's not my favorite thing, but it's one of the pieces of the experience that I miss the most.
Right. And I feel like as soon as viruses become a big problem for Apple, I feel like it's just going to get taken care of. I feel like I'm going to be taken care of.
Oh, right.
That's where I am.
True, right.
You know
it's
what
this sort of paternalistic version or view of,
I don't
like
think,
you're saying, right? It's very top down.
Yeah.
I feel like
I mean, hey, everybody at Jonestown got a cup of Kool-Aid. That's all I'm saying.
I feel like their brand has been so established in quality that if the quality dropped, there's going to be somebody in the Apple offices somewhere with a gun to someone's head saying, if this doesn't get fixed, this next person's going to try and fix it. You're going to be 6 feet under.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're actually going in that direction. It's like I'm sure that you guys as Mac users are aware. A few years ago, there was a virus that made it onto Mac, and that that's something that people were legitimately worried about. And I think they ended up taking care of it through updates. Whenever Lion shipped, they were the original settings for Lion were that you could not install third-party software on your Mac. And it was something that you as the user had to go in and enable. That the original settings were supposed to be that you could only accept downloads through the iTunes Store.
Oh wow!
Or the App Store.
Yeah.
But then I think originally and then later the settings were less restrictive on release. But you still have the option to go in there. Yeah. I'm sure that you were prompted at some point to say,
probably,
this didn't come from us. Do you want to trust it?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, from a creative side of things, as soon as they make their hardware exclusive to their software, they're gonna hurt themselves, and they know that.
Well, and the funny thing about Apple is that Mac is a thing. Mac's been a thing for forever.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who love Macs. I love Macs to an extent.
Yeah.
But that is not their bread and butter. They're
what's not
the Macs? Period.
Okay.
Something like a very large portion, maybe 2/3, maybe more, of Apple revenue comes from the iPhone alone.
Right.
Not just iOS devices, the iPhone alone.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Well, you have to think about it. Like, if you get a generic phone on a movie now, it's the shape of an iPhone.
Oh, absolutely.
It's got the single home screen.
Yep.
Sure.
The iPhone has become just part of what a human has.
Exactly.
In their day-to-day functions.
Some would say it's maybe become part of a human, depending on
somewhat.
As a Galaxy S user, I resent all that.
Yeah, I don't know what I use. Android something. I don't know.
I used Android for several years before I got my first iPhone.
I mean, but really, at this point, I mean, in the beginning, it was like, oh, Android's less polished and it's less user friendly and stuff like that. But now it's gotten to the point where if you want, Android can behave virtually the difficulty in use is gone. Like, it's been polished enough to where it really is competitive on a style and a usability level with Apple. But that being said, Apple over the years have made themselves a little bit more friendly to people who are a little more techie, and they've
loosened their grip a little bit.
Yeah, and so at this point, it's really tomato. I mean, as far as cell phones are concerned.
When I first got my iPhone, you couldn't change the background.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Or maybe that was my sister's iPhone. She got it 2006, 2007.
And it just was what it was.
You couldn't do that yet. There was a time where you didn't have folders. You just had the iPhone icons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was so simple. So this is just how we do things.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you build a brand like that.
Right.
Well, and in the beginning, it's like, who were they competing with? Virtually nobody.
But that's the thing. They were the first through the gate.
Yeah.
With a quality thing.
Yeah, sure. Well,
and for a long time,
the old school HTC Windows CE phones, they were like the competitor to BlackBerry. I mean, BlackBerry was out there for a long time. Back in the day, you had the Palm OS stuff, but it's like if you wanted to talk about a mobile computer sort of ish replacement thing, the old Windows CE phones back before the Windows 8 phones came out. I used to think those were like the coolest thing in the world. But
I used to rock the Sidekick, bro.
Oh yeah. But what?
Is that good?
All the red? Is the red?
Is that
Is
good?
all the red good?
Are we good? The clock stopped moving.
Yeah, let me check it real quick.
Okay.
Oh,
it just
man.
stopped.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
just
glad,
now.
Glad
No, I've
somebody
been
was paying
watching.
attention.
Yeah.
Well, whatever we were talking about,
Whatever it was.
we were interrupted by.
Whatever it was, I was
wait,
right.
Are you guys going to edit this, or is it just going to run up to a mid-sentence and then stop and then continue?
It's going to stop and then continue.
That sounds pretty good.
Will thought
to
the
me.
computer stopped recording,
Right.
But we just we hit about an hour mark.
Wait. Yeah, okay, so we've been talking about computers and technology and things like that and programs and
In
stuff.
our Mac system.
I'm the one who knows probably 0.1% of what both of you know. And I was like, I think it stopped working. The caveman in the group.
Well, I mean,
By the way, it didn't.
But you're also the
stop.
only one facing the correct direction. So if somebody was going to notice.
True. So yeah,
I don't know. All them tracks turned red and numbers stopped moving, and I was concerned as well.
I was afraid. Yeah.
Yeah. Normally, I just don't. If you guys could see how we're set up, we're sitting in the control room. We don't actually track ourselves in the tracking room.
Yeah.
We just set up some mics right in front of the computer and hang out, drink some coffee, and just rock out together.
Yeah.
But I usually sit in the captain's chair because it's the Joe show and I'm the captain. But
I don't know about
I'm never
that, but-
facing the computer. I'm the engineer as well for these shindigs.
Well, also, I'd like to point out that you were the one that is an actual audio engineer. So I mean,
Right. So that kind of makes sense.
Because I rock.
Well, I'm the one who's an actual superstar. So you know,
right.
It's no big deal.
You ever stick your fingers in your armpits and then just sniff them?
I do
smell 'em?
frequently.
No.
Frequently.
Yeah. Maybe.
Do you get
I
that?
don't know.
You don't get that reference?
Wait. No. What?
Superstar.
Superstar.
Oh, right.
Right.
Oh,
Molly
I don't
Shannon.
really do that. That was a joke. I've never done that.
Do you ever like?
Wait, do you get the reference now?
Yeah, I get it now.
Do you ever
I'm saying I never-
Do you ever spastically throw yourself through like bathroom toilet dividers, stall dividers? No.
Yes.
Okay, sweet.
Yes.
Do you
I
ever do the
Yes.
the fax machine or the candy cane?
Mostly fax machine.
Right.
Yeah. Super into it. Super into it.
Oh.
And,
I don't,
and hold on,
I don't really get the reference, but I hope it's awkward.
Clarifying what we mean by do. I mean,
I watched the movie Superstar before I really knew who Will Ferrell was.
Oh, yeah.
What's that
Right.
about?
I don't recall Will Ferrell in that.
Yeah,
movie.
he does the fax machine and the
Right.
candy cane dance.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Zzz, zzz, zzz. He's the jock love interest of
Yeah.
the superstar girl.
Yeah. Well,
she doesn't actually end up with him. She
Is that
ends
Molly Shannon?
Yeah, she
Yeah,
ends
right?
up
Yeah.
with Rocket Man.
Okay.
Spoiler alert!
spoilers. God.
If you haven't seen it yet,
You know, I don't know that I've seen that movie. I think I've only seen the
For real?
skits.
I
I think
wanna
I've only
say
seen
that-
the skits that it's based on.
I want to say that I saw it like a couple of times at your house when we were like in high school.
Oh, there you go.
probably
Yeah.
this is playing
Yeah.
on the television,
Yeah.
Right.
Comedy Central or something.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, we used to rock Comedy Central out.
So
Oh, yeah.
there's a couple things I could ask, and we're coming to a sort of close of some sort.
We're winding.
I want to throw in one more little topic that we can hit on really shortly, and I've got two in mind. So weigh these out and then reject both of them and come up with one.
Okay.
I'm thinking either I'm going to ask Chris more about what he is recently been interested in, right? In terms of like, what are you into right now? What research hole have you gone down most recently, and what interesting things can you bring back?
But you have to realize though that
Right.
it's like since the way that I do like the way that my brain works about this sort of stuff,
Right.
And the way that I engage mostly with a topic is talking to people who know a lot about stuff,
Sure,
like
yeah,
you and
right.
Joe or whoever knows a lot about whatever I'm interested in,
Right.
and that's my favorite way to do it. But I do a lot
Yeah.
of internet research,
Right.
But whenever my attention grabs onto something that's super super inane and boring, like
I think what he's trying to say is the listeners are not interested in what I have to say.
Okay.
because like I'm sure that nobody wants to hear about optimizing Cookie Clicker, because that is seriously something that I've
Dude, that was actually my other question.
was how do you
Was
optimize?
how do you optimize Cookie Clicker?
Well, there's
Most definitely.
there's an add-on called Cookie Monster. Yeah.
He was my favorite growing up. So yeah,
it's
I liked that.
don't ever play Cookie Clicker. Don't ever
Is it a game?
Don't Google
it's a game?
it. It's the worst game.
Wait, before we get into Cookie Clicker,
Let's not. I mean,
okay. What was the other?
The other one was what's just off the top of your head? I'm going to say favorite, but obviously that means nothing. What's your favorite funny high school story or middle school story from when we were younger? Because we hung out and we did a lot of ridiculous things, man. We made stupid movies and we embarrassed ourselves.
it's just so, like, whenever I talk to anybody that we used to hang out, they're always like, man, you remember that one moment? I'm like, oh, now I do. That was hilarious. But it's like, now I can just be like, I mean, I don't know, like convincing James to run into metal doors because we were big fans of Jackass while we were filming stupid stuff. Or like,
we had a bullhead ram a tree once in film.
That's right. Yeah.
Like for real.
Yeah.
Or like he
that was
drilled
that was dangerous.
tree.
Well, but like the most fun stuff was like filming random things like shopping cart jousting, or like whenever there were like 2 4th of Julys in a row where we just bought like tons and tons of bottle rockets and shot them at each other. And then,
for sure.
Kenton for some reason was totally down with us shooting him in the balls.
Yeah,
and
right. Hey, whatever floats your boat, man.
Yeah. But it's like he was. It might not have been. It might have been over at John's house at some point after like bottle rocket shenanigans that took place over at Joe's house.
Yeah.
But we were over at John's once, and we were shooting bottle rockets, and we ended up shooting them at each other because that was just something we did. And then Kenton straight up says, like unprompted, says, "Okay, you guys can shoot me in the balls with 3 of them, and then we're done." And it's like nobody was even asking to do that.
I love that he gave a number too.
Yeah,
he was like, "How many am I going to let him
twist 3 together?" It's like nobody was even considering it. Nobody was like, "Kenton, we really want to shoot you in the crotch with these bottle rockets." We hadn't considered shooting each other in the crotch. Like it was just. Not only was it terrible for him, it was entirely at his suggestion.
It's like he gave in.
Yeah.
Here's a quick question. I was trying to think of different stories from high school, and one image I have in my head, I think it's coming back to me. Yeah. But I remember I remember it now.
I'm really curious what this is going to be.
We're all meeting up at I think it was your house.
Mm-hmm.
After school for something. We were getting ready to go somewhere. Sure. I don't remember where it was.
We often did that, yes.
Yeah. And this is a perfect example of both of your all's personalities in high school, which has changed a lot.
Right.
So we were all loading into Will's car to go somewhere. I don't remember. It may have been a movie or something. I don't know what it was.
Right.
And Will was like, "We need to go. We need to go."
I think
That's
this
still
actually
me.
was at Mimi's.
That's still me.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I think this was at Will's grandmother's house, if it's the one that I'm thinking of.
Okay, well, correct me if I'm wrong after I'm finished. But Will's like, "We need to go. We just gotta go. It's time to go." And Chris is like, hold on just a minute. He was like walking towards the car, but I think Chris was like, Will's being a little too uppity here.
Right.
It's fine. We have time. So he was really taking his sweet time getting the car. And Will's like, "We need to go." And I remember it snapping in Will's head. He's like, "I'll show him." And he just takes off and leaves Chris. And I remember looking back, and Chris grabs his trombone and chucks the trombone case into the air.
I remember that too.
It was because
I remember that.
A camera was left at the auditorium.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so true.
And I don't remember why. I don't remember why I had my trombone.
We were just back from school, probably.
Yeah. And did I just get it out of your trunk or something like that?
And
I don't remember
know
why I was being so slow at getting to the car.
But Will's thinking, "This is bad. This is going to be bad. We're never going to see this camera again.
Yeah.
The camera's gone. This is serious. This is serious, guys."
Right.
Like, Mr. Caution. Right? And Chris is like, "It's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's fine.
We'll get
It'll
there.
be fine.
Yeah.
Just give me a second to get to the car." And then right before he gets there, Will's like, "Oh yeah? Forget you. We're going to get the camera." And I remember like being so uncomfortable because like I was like, any confrontation just like runs all over me. Like, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm a little child." And you chucked that trombone.
I remember that too. I remember thinking, oh no, like he's mad now. Like that got back at me. Like, does that make sense? Like, I felt what you were feeling after that happened.
But you also probably felt the fact that you kind of caused it.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, it's, I don't know. I used to. I've always been, I don't know, like when I was a little kid I had a temper and stuff like that, but it's like I feel like I've always been relatively slow to anger, and it's like, but whenever I'd get mad I would just like say or do really stupid stuff. Not like I was never like a wall puncher or anything like that.
Right.
But it's like I never got super mad often enough to be like a John level wall puncher. Like right. John could be like, we're out of my favorite cereal, I gotta punch this wall. Don't punch the wall. I gotta punch this wall. No.
So do you think that small showing of anger, it began with being irritated with Will trying to get you to hurry, so you just walked slowly? I remember. I wish I could remember why I wasn't already at the car.
I love the detail about the camera. That was good. That really tied the story together.
Yeah.
See, I remember
because I didn't remember that.
I remember you waiting.
Right.
Just 70% of the time it took him to get there, and to just being like,
right,
forget this,
right,
boom,
right.
Well, Will in high school, Will had this thing where it's like he wanted to go somewhere, and he wanted to go there like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, like in high school, I had that, or like still.
I mean, like we don't see each other as often,
right.
I feel like even if we did, then we would be leaving to go somewhere from the same place.
I still definitely have that, but it's just not as. Yeah. It's not high school anymore.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just I understand. I'm more self-aware about it.
Right. And also,
it's still in there.
We've covered that in the podcast before.
Right.
I just remember things needing to be more your way.
Right.
When we were younger.
In high school, yeah.
Well, and also like I mean there was like a couple years where like Will and I hung out like
every day, all day long, and actually we had a pretty good track record considering that.
Yeah.
Like we never really got mad at each other much. A few times here and there,
but
like
2 or 3 times like the entire time.
Yeah.
The biggest drama in our group of friends, I felt, usually was between Will and James somehow.
Oh, we got annoyed with each other all the time.
Right.
Oh yeah.
All the time,
and everyone else was
would get like mad.
Everyone
at each
else
other.
just enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's why we were doing it. It was sort of a long game to make you guys have some fun. Yeah. But
So I think we should do a part 2 sometime.
We should. We need
definitely.
to. I feel like we barely scratched the surface of Chris's Renaissance man. I I want to ask questions next time about Secondhand Hero, and I won't go into that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But that's what I want to ask questions about next
Chris
time.
and James' band.
Yes,
we should get them both
on.
We
should do that.
Yeah.
Why haven't we had?
Let's do that.
But I mean, it's like
that's a plan.
You want to
don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Spoiler alert.
I'll ask my questions of confusion after we wrap up the podcast.
Exactly. Yep. Well, this has been great. Thank you for doing this, Chris. We will do it again.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's been very fun. Well, let's try the sign off. You heard an episode of this, so you may have heard the sign off.
I didn't hear the sign off.
Okay. Well, you done good, Joe.
You done good, Chris.
You done good, Will.
Nailed it. You done good, everybody.
It's a circle. Go buy a Mac, guys.
Yeah.
Great job.